Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Liverpool Latest. My name is Matt. Thank you so much for joining me today. I do the whole intro long-winded, but today I got to get right to business. Apparently, there's been some news that has come across my feeds that make me sick, frankly. I am not sure what happened at the Galatasaray match this past week, but apparently Ibrahima Konate was the subject of some very horrific comments being thrown at him post match on social media, perhaps even at Anfield itself. It seems like Galatasaray fans have decided to resort to cowardly racial comments towards Konate himself for whatever reason. I think it was because they felt he was responsible for an injury that one of their players sustained over the course of the match. Something along those lines. I didn't see the match in full. I only saw the highlights, so I can't tell you whether or not this is true. But it looks to me like that is the story that is being correlated here, post comments being made. So I would like to read to you the official Liverpool statement condemning the actions of those at Galatasaray or their fans. Liverpool FC is appalled and disgusted by the vile and abhorrent racist abuse directed at Ibrahima Konate on social media. This behavior is utterly unacceptable. It is dehumanizing, cowardly, and rooted in hate. Racism has no place in football, no place in society, and no place anywhere, online or offline. Our players are not targets, they are human beings. The abuse that continues to be directed at players, often hidden behind anonymous accounts, is the stain on the game and on the platforms that allow it to persist. All of football must stand together and say clearly and without compromise that this will not be tolerated. Words of condemnation alone are not sufficient. This is very reminiscent of a recent controversy in itself from a couple weeks back. I believe it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, Vinicius Jr. was also apparently the subject of some on-field racial attacks towards him. And clearly, the football world responded in kind at condemning those actions as well. I believe it was Vinicius Jr. Don't quote me on it, but I think that was the name I remember seeing consistently with that report. Either way, very good on Liverpool to call this out. I think Galatasaray fans should be ashamed of themselves. I think that that is how, if that's how they handle a loss, they are, quite frankly, more sorry of excuse for human beings than football fans. It's one thing to talk shit after a loss in a sport. It's another thing to resort to incredibly harmful and dehumanizing comments in response to that. It's like every time there is a team that faces a New York team and the first reaction that they get when they beat or lose to them is a 9/11 picture or a 9/11 related joke or something, which, granted, is fucked up. Regardless of how long ago it was or whatever, it's still a very huge tragedy in the history of the United States, of especially after the turn of the millennium. So the fact that teams and fans and make jokes like this, or not even teams, mostly fans, make jokes like this is sick as fuck. What even is more stupid is a comment I see on the Instagram post where I had just read the official statement from Liverpool, which is clearly, you can tell that this individual is just trying to save face for both his people in Turkey as well as the club itself. And I'm going to read this to you because this is absolutely fucking pathetic. I'm not even going to say the guy's name because he's not worth that much. He doesn't need that kind of exposure here on this platform. Turks and Galatasaray fans would never be racist. First of all, Konate needs to learn to respect others. He couldn't stomach losing twice this year, but Galatasaray fans won't forget him. We will surely meet again someday. We are the best Galatasaray. Now, I'm not going to sit here and go through the thread of comments that are under this because I can only imagine that this has hurled even more hate towards that individual, which is also not cool as well. But I will sit here and say that this individual who wrote that comment is clearly out of touch with the rest of the world. And there's a lot more comments I can make here, but that would be just unright of me to say. All in all, it's a very fucked up situation. I have been very critical of Konate this season, but I have never once attacked his, manhood, his race, nothing along those lines. I only look at the player and not at what he's doing on the field. And the fact that people are now going beyond that is very sick. So Galatasaray should be very ashamed of themselves and their fans for what has transpired post-match. All you had to do was take your L like how it is. You were never going to win. You were never going to beat us, in my opinion. But even if we had our own doubts, but it seems like they could not handle the fact that they lost in very dominating fashion to a very solid Liverpool side. Either way, do better. Next up, not so great news on the injury front. Now, this video will probably be uploaded after the match takes place because we do have a very early match tomorrow, Liverpool versus Brighton. But it looks to me that Alisson Becker will be out for that match, and it seems as though that news only just came out within the last hour of me recording this. Because prior to that, there was news that another player was going to get injured, which I will talk about. But Alisson, yes, is out against Brighton, which is absolutely hilarious to think about because Alisson really didn't do too much versus Gala this past week. So I'm not really sure where the injury could have came from. Perhaps it was an injury he picked up in training. That said, I am happy that they extended Alisson for that one extra year. But how are we going to sit here and defend the fact that he's constantly being hurt and we have to rely on backup keepers like Amardashvili? So this will be a big test for him as well because obviously he will be the number 2 in net. It's very disappointing to see Alisson have to deal with so many injuries. I just don't understand how fragile one man can be at times, and especially when the club needs someone of his stature and his pedigree in net more than anything right now. But I can only hope that this is only like a 1 or 2 week deal and that he's back to normal. But considering that this is Alisson Becker we're talking about, it could be maybe a few extra weeks more. Who knows? In addition to that, Mo Salah is also out versus Brighton. Seems as though he picked up a muscle injury, I think, after the Gala match, and it seems as though he cannot be fit enough to face Brighton, in this case, today when this gets put out. So what I want to talk about now is how much is this going to affect us, because clearly Mo had a very fantastic game against Gala, probably one of his best games all season, considering it's been very rough for him. So what does that mean for the attack? What does that mean for a lot of things as far as the offensive output of this side going into Brighton? I'm a little bit terrified of that. I am a little bit upset about the fact that Mo is out. So these are 2 big names on our squad that now are going to be out for the unforeseeable future, and it just makes me a little bit worried that they are happening this late in the season, especially with so much on the line going forward. As a matter of fact, it's actually so bad, these injuries, that Mo is not even going to be on international duty. He's not even going to be playing for Egypt on this international break coming up after the Brighton match, and I can only assume that Alisson will probably be doing the same. So, not a good sign going into Brighton, from my point of view. But last but certainly not least, not a huge news day, as you can tell, but Federico Chiesa does accept Italy call up for a World Cup decider on international duty this upcoming week. I am very happy for him. Um, he's been more than a good hand for us, despite maybe not always performing to the best of what we would expect of him. But the fact that he is now getting this call up is very endearing for him to play for his country. Clearly, they thought highly enough of him to consider him in this upcoming week's international duties. So, very, very happy for Federico Chiesa. I can only hope that Italy does win that match. I would like to see Italy in the World Cup, personally speaking. But nonetheless, it's a big deal. What's even funnier, though, as a side note, is that it seems as though England snubbed Trent Alexander-Arnold for English World Cup or international duty going into this upcoming week, which is, I don't know, man. I don't know what the deal was with that, but so I've been seeing memes all online today about how, oh, everyone's happy that Trent didn't get picked up, and everyone's happy that Federico Chiesa is getting an opportunity on the Italian national team. So, very interesting upcoming international duty week for sure. I will be sure to bring you guys all the news from that as those games show up throughout the course of the week. So, with that being said, thanks so much for joining me today on Liverpool Latest. Very short episode, very outspoken episode, so to speak. I appreciate the fact that you guys are here. Be sure to leave a like or a rating if the platform you are watching or listening on allows it to. Be also sure to comment if you have the ability to give your thoughts on the situation. And if you're trying to spew any hate towards Konate, you are a scumbag in that matter. Last but certainly not least, be sure to hit the subscribe on the channel as well, or the follow button on the channel wherever you watch or listen to the show so that the show can continue to grow. And I would appreciate that very much, as well as fan art. So, whenever you join the Liverpool Latest family, know that you will never walk alone, but don't be a racist scumbag, because we don't stand for that shit here. I'll see you guys on the next one.